Welcome to Top Rated Gym Podcast for the gym owners aiming to take their business to the next level. I'm your host, Andre, and I'm interviewing top performance, best rated, highest revenue, fastest growing gyms in the world, regardless if they have a single location or empire of thousands. If you own a gym and looking for ideas how to get more leads, increase conversion, grow your membership base, or facing troubles with customer retention, maybe your employees or operational challenges, this is your podcast. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about one topic that you cannot live without it. You might be living without it, but it might be hurting your business. And we are about to talk about copywriting. Not just writing, but copywriting, using words that sells. Oh my God, this topic is relevant to everyone. If you're communicating with your clients, with your leads, with your prospect, using email or text messaging, it's must-have skills. I am blessed to bring you today, one and only, Linda Melone. She's a writer and founder of CopyWorx, serial entrepreneur. Oh my God. Most of her work is about fitness. She is in this industry for 20 years, and she works pretty much in almost every fitness publication out there. Local publication, national publication, Woman Magazine, Oxygen, writing for Men's Fitness, Men's Health, Women's Day, in Time Magazine, MSN Health for years. Oh my God, I have no words to describe who we have today. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was such a great welcome.
Listen, I'm not a professional copywriter. I love copywriting. I heard about Joseph Sugarman a long time ago and just the style of copywriting. I want to know your story. What got you into this?
Well, it's like a lot of people say about marketing, like they kind of fell into it. I have, as you said, I've always been a serial entrepreneur. I actually started way back when I had a degree in nutrition. I thought I wanted to get into nutrition. It was too dry for me. I got out of school and I was like, this is not really what I want to do. But I always had an interest in working out. So this is way back when. I won't even tell you how long it's been because I look younger than my age, and I don't want to give that away. So I got my certification as a personal trainer, and I began working as a trainer in small studios, like boutique fitness places. And then people started saying to me, hey, would you like to train me at home? And it's interesting because a lot of the times I got clients because the trainer they were working with didn't listen to them. For example, I had one woman. She was older. She would get nauseous when she was on, the Gravitron machine. It kind of lifts you up and down. It's like you can do pull-ups on it with assistance. And she said that it made her dizzy. And the trainer she was working with insisted that she use it, which I never knew why. So she goes, would you work out with me at home? So that was the beginning. And I ended up working with her whole family. And then I just grew from that. And at the same time, I was getting these magazines. It was called OC Metro. It's not around anymore, for Orange County Metro in California. It was a free publication, business publication. And they had a fitness column. And I was reading this, I'm thinking, I could write this. And so I thought, why not pitch the editor an idea on how to set up a home gym? Because that's what I was doing at this time. I was working with a lot of people at home, and people didn't know, how much space do I need for a treadmill? How do I, what am I looking for? What's good for what my workout is, and so on. And so I wrote this column. I'll never forget, like after it was published, the editor called me. And he said, this is great. Do you want to do more for us? So long story short, I ended up writing the column. I ended up writing cover stories. Sometimes I had 2 big stories in the magazine. And then I started branching out gradually into national publications. So I started pitching like the Woman's Day and Men's Fitness, and that came along a little bit later. But I ended up writing for all the publications you mentioned, just everything. Like once you get established as a writer and your byline is out there, and even now, if you Google my name, because I have an unusual spelling of my last name, they repurpose all of my articles, and it looks like I'm still writing for these magazines, and I'm not, because they ended up folding. So like the end of like 2017, I think it was even before then, a lot of the print publications started going under. Everything was going online. And I lost a huge account. I was writing for MSN Health.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot of writing for them. I could have just supported myself on what I made for them. And they literally stopped using freelancers overnight. Like it all went away. Like 75% of my income gone. And the editor was very apologetic. She goes, I cannot convince them to keep using freelancers. I'm so sorry. So I had to figure out what to do. So I started an online fitness course. So it was for online fitness course for women over 50. And I did that for a couple of years. And what was good about that is that it was kind of like I had to be my own marketer. So I did all my own marketing. I did 10 live events in a year. And I found I had kind of a knack for it. They were online events, not live, like in-person events. And then I did that. And I did that for about 5 years. And I just couldn't make the money I wanted to on it. The churn rate was so high with memberships. It's really hard. Yeah. And then I thought, I want to go back to writing, but the print publication world was no longer around. And so I said, well, let me try my hand. I want to do copywriting. How hard could it be to switch from content, which was articles, to copy? Whole different ballgame. So I studied with top, I made a couple mistakes along the way, which made me realize I needed to learn something about this whole copywriting thing. And I studied with some high-level copywriting coaches. And that's how it all began. And then I was writing mainly for SaaS companies, software as a service, and then decided, why don't I just really specialize in what I know the best, which was fitness. Wow. So that's a long answer to your short question.
No, it's a brilliant, because, copywriting is not something that you could get a degree in a school. You cannot go in college. It's like a product role. 20 years ago, it didn't exist. Today, it's like mandatory part of the role of every software company. Copywriting is as well. The first traces are like documented copywriting was Joseph Sugarman and his 200 letters, where he was selling the private jets via freaking direct mail. And he revolutionized that idea. Probably didn't even know what he's doing. He was just good in putting words on paper that makes people buy.
Right.
It's a simple definition. But talking about copywriting versus writing, why a lot of people still have like confusion. Mark my words. What the heck is the difference? So how would you explain somebody difference?
I sum it up by saying it's really the purpose of the writing. So when I wrote articles, for example, for a magazine, it was informative, sometimes entertaining, but there wasn't a real call to action necessarily. They get to the end of the article, okay, you learned something. Copywriting is written for a purpose. I start with the end in mind. What is the goal of this copy? It's always to have people take some kind of action. It could be a sale, but sometimes that's down the road. More likely it's to sign up for a lead magnet, sign up for your freebie, join a membership, join a community. All of those require copywriting. So it's writing that gets people to take action. And it takes into account things like where they are in the decision-making process, which is not something that content takes into account. Look, when I'm writing an article, which I really don't do anymore, but it would be, I don't know where these people are coming from. I don't know who they are. I know who's reading it. Copywriting, you better know who your audience is. That's the whole thing. You're writing for a specific person or a specific audience and for a specific outcome. So that's the biggest difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And when I was taking courses and coaching on copywriting, I remember AIDA. That was one of the approaches, like AIDA, like you got to grab their attention, and that's usually headline and stuff like that. And then, you got to put some information and then drama and then call to action at the end. And that formula stretches up even on 7 or 8 elements with the Joseph Sugarman kind of getting deeper into it. But I remember one line, oh my God, it stood up with me in copywriting so heavily. Once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. And I think it's a Joseph Sugarman. I don't know who the author is. But he said one thing. He says, what's the number one purpose of the very first thing you write? And it was like, super simple. It's to make them read the second line. And I was like, what's the second purpose of the second line? It's to making them read the third line. It's like you follow the process. And you call a slippery slope. Like you push people a little bit down the slippery slope and they don't stop until they reach the bottom. It's like opening bag of chips. Nobody open bag of chips and stop halfway through. It's like, you just need to get them into it. and they'll get down
Yeah.
to the bottom of it. So I was like, man, what's the single purpose of the very first line? First subject line, just to open an email, first line to get them continue reading it. People make such a simple mistake or disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like, ooh, really hard. How can you recognize, let's say somebody gives you good copy. Like, can you recognize something that's good versus bad? How can you differentiate?
I look at, does it use the words that the audience would use? Because a lot of times it does not. It's like, do people, if I read a headline, is it something that people wake up thinking to themselves? Because I can't think of an example offhand that's bad. But, like if, say it's a fitness article and people wake up, it's like, I just want to get rid of this last 5 pounds, or why can't I firm up my arms, whatever it is, that should be something related to what they're thinking in that headline that makes them say, oh, this sounds like me. And it shouldn't be like a marketing speak or welcome to my website or some other waste of that space, which I don't see as often anymore. But it should be something that people are thinking about. And it could be, I had this big debate on LinkedIn, and I've even written about it and did a solo podcast on it. But there's a lot of debate about, do you start with a solution or do you start with a problem? And PAS, problem, agitation, solution, is a popular copywriting formula. And lately, like SaaS typically starts with kind of a combination. It's more like the value proposition. So it could be that either your value proposition, what makes you different from your competition, or it strikes an emotional chord with your audience in some way.
That's interesting. But even that value proposition, that differentiation, it's usually, if I'm right, something that people experience problem with the competition. You're talking you're easy, that means they're complex. They're expensive, that means you're affordable or easy to try it out, no risk. They ask for long-term commitment, you're focusing on month to month. Like somebody called that zigzag. What competition does, you zig it out in a totally different way, because there are people who doesn't like how they do it, and they cannot be on both sides, and you make it second side. Interesting. Let's say somebody wants to learn about copywriting. I'm a gym owner, and I was like, okay, I'm still not convinced, but I gotta figure it out. So how would you go of advising a gym owner to go into the world of copywriting? Where does somebody starts? Does they start with the email, text, newsletter, website?
I'd say even before that. I mean, you first have to talk to your clients or your customers. So you're talking about after the research, or because you can't really skip that step, because that's the most important thing.
Okay, that's the step.
What are people talking about? What are they complaining about? One of my secret weapons is I go on Reddit. Do you ever go on Reddit, the social media?
Sometimes, yes.
Well, what I like about it is it's unfiltered, it's anonymous, and people talk about everything. You can get dirt
Like
on
gossip of the world.
Yeah, but you can find out what people really think about anything. And I've gone on there just recently. There's a lot of unscrupulous people who are selling courses that are being seen as almost cults. And I went on Reddit and I looked under cults. I looked under what are people complaining about. So if it's a fitness thing, like say you have a gym, I would go on there and say, what are people complaining about that they don't like about gyms? I'd go on even just a particular gym's reviews, because you can see what's consistent. Like there's one big box gym near me that people say everything's always broken. The sauna is always broken. The machines are always broken. No one fixes it. So if I were a gym owner, I'd be thinking, okay, how can we turn that around? Like our equipment is never out of order, or something where, we get to that, like turn that into a positive, like everybody else is dealing with.
Because I believe, and please agree with me or disagree, that when somebody speaks up, somebody took so much energy to go on Reddit, sit down from the busy schedule, to write down expression of their emotions or experience, trying to find solution, because it's already a level of frustration that I'm going against it. I'm hoping to fix it or express myself. So there's a huge element of focus and energy committing to that article, These people are not copywriting professionals. These are amateur frustrated.
Right.
And they usually represent such a significant number of people. When one person complains, probably they represent about 13% of people in the company. It's like feeling the same thing. Injustice on the salary, injustice on this, but one person speaks.
Right.
So when you find one comment, it's a huge representation.
Yeah.
Not just a one off. Do you agree, disagree? What do you feel about that?
Totally agree. Yeah. Because a lot of times I'll feel the same way. In fact, that's why I've gone on sites. It was a gym that opened recently and I just could never get into it. Like it was always so crowded. And I'm like, am I going at the wrong time? So I went on their website and what are people complaining about? People were saying it doesn't matter what time you go, it's always too crowded. So it's like, all right, it's not just me. Yeah. So they're selling way more memberships. And the same gym is sending me emails every week about sign up your friends. And I'm like, no, don't sign up your friends because there's too many people already. So I would look at things like that, like what are people complaining about? But a big box gym is going to have different problems than like a boutique gym because I've worked for both. And, you know, the other thing that a big box gym will have a problem is a lack of personal attention. So now there are people who are coming up with AI solutions to that, where they're tracking with the gym members' permission. They were tracking people's workouts and seeing where they're getting stuck and then reaching out to them and saying, hey, you know, do you need help with this? Do you want a session with a trainer? That sort of thing. So it's finding where are the problems and then having a solution.
So think about copywriting versus writing. Now, this is a question that might be relevant to your expertise or not, but how impactful copywriting is for SEO, for Google, for people, for traffic, bringing in traffic. Is there any relevance there as well?
Oh, sure. I mean, websites, absolutely. You need to know what are the SEO words. There's kind of a balance you have to find because you want to know what the keywords are that people are searching for. Yeah. And lately, it's also been not just keywords that they're typing in, but they call them long tail keywords. Because if you're asking your phone, you know, for a question, it's probably going to be something long. So you want to have it look for those keywords, but you want to weave it into the copy in a way that's not obvious that you're using keywords. Because I've been on some sites, you know, and they're using the same words over and over and over, and you just know they're doing it for SEO. So you want to be kind of subtle about it. Blogs is a good place to use. Now, blogs not considered copywriting per se; it's more content, but that's where a lot of people will put in SEO. But definitely in the headline. The opening.
I see SEO really have an impact on traffic and increase the traffic. I have a clients we did SEO for and like 10x their traffic, like gyms. There's like business high tone fitness. They started with us. We took the traffic. But I also believe that unless you write really optimized content for conversion, traffic means nothing. If you get somebody reading it and they go home without figuring out that you are also delivering that solution, that you're talking about it, that you don't capture their data, that you don't have call to action, like you said, nothing matters. So there is some kind of mix because copywriting, when I started learning it, I fell in love with it. And today AI, like you said, is getting better and better in a sense, but AI cannot do the job without you being part of it. AI does not go on a Quora or research your problems, does not get creative ideas, does not understand current situation now, what's happening in industry, does not know which competitor you're targeting to go against. So you have to be part of it.
Right.
So in a world of copywriting, let's say if you run the gym now, would you focus on emails, newsletter to existing clients? Like where would your skill be? I mean, there's so many things. It's such a broad question. Sorry to ask such a broad question, but I'm thinking like if somebody is implementing this copywriting strategy or maybe hiring copywriter, what's the first thing they do? Like, would you
probably
start with email
emails.
Newsletter?
Yeah, probably emails, especially having a sequence that, you know, when they first join, the welcome letter, that's something like the first email that is sent out after people opt in, like 80% of people open it. That's when you want to catch them. And that's also a good time to ask them, what are their specific interests? So are they interested in weight training? Are they interested in nutrition? And then you segment them into whatever their interest is. And then you target your emails. Like, I think it's a 4-to-1 forget the name that there's a, I want to say for bocce. There's a certain formula. It's 4 informational emails and then 1 ask. Might be 3 to 1. But you want to make sure that you're giving them a lot of good content before you ask them to sign up or something. If it's sales, 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 every email, people are just going to ignore them. But if you're offering things like, hey, here's 10 things you didn't know about building your arms, that it's for somebody who is really interested in that, they'll read that and then they'll say, hey, maybe I should sign up with a trainer and really get through this whole program. Because then you would have a call to action at the end to contact us if you want to work with a trainer who specializes in whatever it is. So you have that opportunity.
Yeah, and I like how you structure it. 4 to 1, that means out of 5 content pieces, 1 is sales or promotion. It's almost like a commercial in a TV show, right? You have about 15-20% commercial time. You deliver value rest of the time, and they enjoy it. And hey, it's fair time game to offer something in that 20%. So right. 1 out of 5 text messages. 4 can be, yes, let me help you with 10 things how you didn't know about building your arms or weight loss or nutrition or recovery or many other things. Accountability. You can probably come up with a 20 valuable, 50 valuable topics that people, especially when they're going in the fitness world, are facing.
Right.
And then along the way, it says, hey, did you know that we have a solution for that? I'm offering you ideas. Because I remember my wife went on a first-time yoga class. She never been to yoga and she want experience. She's a Zumba person and she liked that dynamic, loud music environment where she dances. But she got hurt. Her foot started hurting after 3 or 4 months because, I don't know, something is wrong there. Like, why don't you try yoga? She went for a yoga class. Oh my God. Because she's very competitive. She got out from the yoga class and sit down on the bench chair and could not get up. Like, she was exhausted. From the yoga? Yeah, from the yoga.
You would think, like, I thought you were going to say she was bored.
No, she got exhausted. I was like, and she never went back.
Really?
Never. And I feel bad for her. I was like, baby, why not? I was like, no. These people have no mercy. They told me it's beginning yoga. It's that far from that. And she had really bad experience, bad taste of yoga.
Wow.
And I'm thinking like, oh, how copywriting could solve that? How copywriting could preempt that? That before you come, say, hey, you're a newbie, don't start in the first line, right? Get back, relax, do what you can. You don't have to follow all those warriors in 100% shape, right? After you're done, this is how you're going to feel. It's totally normal, right? Give it a day or 2 to recover. Like, she thought she failed a class. That's not for her. I'm out.
Yeah.
And just one small content pieces delivered right on time would totally change how she feels. And she could be a member of that yoga studio.
I'm surprised. So no one went, like the instructor didn't notice or say anything, because that's the other thing, is that you need to have empathy and you need to have people skills, even to write, whether it's writing or conducting a class. You need to know what people are struggling with and be able to relate to that. They need to know what to expect. Like when I would start with a client, a lot of times this happened more than once. I'd go to somebody's house, I'd work with them. And this one woman told me, she goes, I thought you went way too easy on me. And she goes, after you left, I was going to do a lot more. And I didn't, because I got distracted. And she goes, good thing, because the next day I couldn't walk. Because that's the thing I tell people, is that it's not going to feel hard. I go pretty easy. I'm not one of these screaming trainers. In fact, I know that people didn't hire me sometimes because I'm not like that. I don't have it in me to yell at. I don't want to be yelled at, so I don't want to yell at people. But she thought I took it too easy on her until the next day. So I said, I told you that. She goes, yeah, it's a good thing I didn't.
Don't go all out on the first time, because you wouldn't come next time because you'll make all excuses about muscle soreness and you cannot come. And I'm thinking like how communication is important. Many people don't do follow-up. They don't communicate properly. And this is where I see you jumping in. It was like, oh my God, that is unheard of. That is how you should handle this. And proper communication really solves the problem. And then people think about, why don't I have a members? Why my retention is so bad? Why my conversion from the lead or trial to member is not working? They just see the people as the numbers. They don't follow up. They don't understand what's going on, why people sit on the bench for 5 minutes. I literally had to drive the car around like, baby, jump in. And she is a fit woman. She's
Wow.
not obese. Let put it that perspective. you know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of,
Well, even
but
if you're fit, you do something different, you're gonna feel it. I mean, I've been working out forever, and if I go to do a different workout, I'm gonna feel it. It's just because the muscles are worked differently. You're doing different exercises.
I
What
remember my first yoga. It was like, my God, it seems like I'm doing nothing and I'm sweating like a dog. Like, what is going on? It feels embarrassing.
One thing I just want to mention as a side note, when I want to entertain myself, I go on Facebook on these ads for these fitness people because I saw one the other day. It's this guy and he says, ladies, if you want to tighten up your triceps, the underarm, this is what you need to do. And I'm looking at the exercises he's doing. Every one of them was shoulders. I'm like, that's not hitting the triceps. That's not hitting the triceps. People don't know. And there's so many people just talking about, and even though that would be B2C, but still, knowing what people are watching it helps to inform, B2B. Like you need to know where people are missing the boat and filling them in. Like, are you falling for these workouts? They're not even getting close to the muscle. Like this is not even getting triceps.
Yeah, but that, fitness, business, marketing. It's easier for us to understand the whole angle and you see the whole picture. I'm wondering somebody who was whole life just a personal trainer, become brave enough, jump into gym business. Now he's dealing with payroll, dealing with employees, dealing with obstacles different like landlords. Now I got to think about marketing and I have to think about conversation, copywriting. Oh my God, brand new word in my dictionary. What the heck I'm doing with myself? So now they're thinking like, Andre, all these episodes is good, but it's making me more frustrated. What do I do next?
I think, the simplest thing is the emails. You have them if people are joining, or you're saying that to get them to even join.
To get a business owner to start using copywriting, and email is best way even to get them to join or content. Is there any specific formula you use for content writing? Like you said, first is a research. That's step number one. You need to understand your members, your prospects' problem deep, right, or competitors' problem, or quora to see what the sense of the industry is talking about. What's the step number two? Let's say you're clear on the problem.
If I'm clear on the problem, I'm writing an email because that's email. The thing I wanted to add too is with emails, you get results right away. So if you're writing a landing page or a website page, it can take months before you see the results. Emails, who's opening it, if they're clicking right away, and you can send out a bunch of them. I would start with, just nurturing that relationship. And so the first email would be to segment, ask them, what is it that they're most interested in? And then address that, like, if you can get some people on the phone even. And then each email would be addressing that, how you're going to address that struggle or that challenge. And just maybe an actionable tip. It doesn't have to be a long email. It could just be like, okay, like belly fat. Everyone wants to get rid of their, I got this 5 pounds. Okay, here's 10 foods that research shows, because you want to back with research, that can help you with that. And maybe it's a checklist. Give them something they can save, and so they'll put it up on their refrigerator or whatever on their phone. And then the second one would be maybe how to cook something, 10-minute breakfast meals, high protein. And you can do this overnight. Prepare this tonight. You'll have breakfast tomorrow, those overnight oats or something. And then so you build on each email. And then the third one could be how to burn off like the 300 calories that you had for breakfast or something, or however many calories. Here's 5 different ways to burn that off. And then maybe the fourth one is, and by the way, we have trainers that have nutrition backgrounds that can help you with this or whatever it is. So, and then the next one would be, something else, and see what people are clicking on. You really have to test all of this. Marketing, it's all about testing.
It is. And I like, because you're already just out of top of your mind, you're coming with the cadence and problems and each one of them. Recently, I did a study with my team. And because I want to know what works in industry. And there's a different length of the email that goes from the prospect first time versus somebody who is a member. So different amount of words you can communicate with, right? And then there is a also different amount of emails, like how many emails can you send to existing member or somebody who's customer versus somebody who's new, how often you should send it. So I did with my team, because I know a lot of these things, but I wanted my team to buy into it, my marketing team to buy into it. And says, guys, don't listen to me. Let's do digging research ourselves. So I started looking to world best marketers, from Neil Patel to people around the globe. I subscribed to their list for like 2 months. And I started putting filter in my Gmail. And I asked my team question: how often does the best marketer reach out to me as a prospect, right? Or as a client? I sign up for some trials, I become a client, and so on. We did analytics back to back. It was like 18 to 22 emails a month. I was like, oh, interesting.
Wow.
Let's see what is the content. Each one is personalized content directly, without fancy, crazy templating, no fancy design, like talking to me. It was like, Andre, let me introduce you to this guy who got this results with this time under this period. Crazy, right? But here's the backstory that he never shared. Like, and I'm reading and like, boom, I'm sucked into it. And then the third thing is, so they sent 20 emails. Average email was like about 1,500, characters. Like, it's a long email. Like, it cannot fit in a letter size format. You gotta fold it to the next one. It's a long email, not 30 seconds read on a red light. It's a longer content, really educational, and like a column. And I was like, oh my God, you gotta find a formula that works. And then each one of them, they are great, have very similar framework, very personalized, very text-based, very oriented. Now, I'm a B2B business. In a B2C, when it comes to members, people who are joining your gym, you're listening now as a listener of this podcast, you're thinking, oh, what is too much? What do you believe in this B2C world? How long, how many emails is okay to send out?
Well, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. You have
Even
to,
in that world.
what are people opening? I'm thinking about the ones that I get. If it's something I'm really interested in, I can get one every day and I'd be fine with it. If it's somebody I'm not interested in working with, then it gets annoying. So it really depends, when I was running the courses that I had, because I told you I did a women's fitness course. I'm trying to think how many I sent out. I mean, I sent out back to back. I think the first week was like maybe 3. And then after that was about 1 a week. Because for me, when it got to be like 2 a week, people started complaining. Like it was too much. So you have to know what your audience is willing to like. Do they like it? Are they going to report you as spam? That's the dangers if you start sending out too much. I don't know. You get there's a lot of arguments for sending out a lot of emails. But I
always say that even open rate is very good parameters of measuring success. Do people read your email? But even if the email is not opened, if the subject line is properly set, it does sound like a trigger for your business. So even if they swipe it right just to archive it, by fact of them reading that subject line is a reminder, oh, I should book a class. Or yeah, I should go for a training. Oh yeah, I should think about my diet. Eventually, they'll says, okay, which business is my number one choice when I made a decision? They go back to one on top of their mind.
Right. Yeah. Top of
those triggers, a little top of the mind, keeping them up.
Especially because people a lot of times you don't have to read, like you can get that preview sentence, the first one, which is also why you want to make sure that makes sense and is also engaging, because 80% of people don't get past that subject line. Or the like when I look at my emails, if someone has told me everything they need, and sometimes it's a simple thing in my emails, I don't open it because I know what it is, and it could just be something like just from a friend. Like okay, I'll meet you at 1 o'clock or whatever. I don't have to open the email to know what it says. It's right there in the preview. So the same with when you're sending out a marketing email, what do you want them to know? Because a lot of times, like I use ConvertKit for my list, and you can just write in what you want for the preview sentence. So don't waste it with people a lot of times will put something like, you can, unsubscribe at any point. Why would you want to put that as your first line? I've had those. I had a coach tell me that years ago. She said, you need to tell people right away they can unsubscribe. But why would I put that first? Like, let them read the thing first. It's funny.
Yeah, definitely. Those are small things. There's forbidden words you don't want to use, spam trigger words, cost words, sales words, avoid those. But at the end is the game. Be a professional expert. Be caring about them. Use this as its one-on-one conversation. Imagine you have a business with one client, and imagine you're training president of the country, and then comes to a workout. It cannot slow down, cannot have tired. You gotta treat them like a champ. What would you say to them after the workout? What would you say to them before the next workout? How would you treat every symptom they might experience? How would you be proactive and preventing any challenges they might face? How would you make sure that their experience is absolutely seamless? Every thought, every idea, every challenge it might face. And then those who do are those who succeed. Copywriting is way more important skills than what we are just thinking. It's not just, is it one word copywriting or now 2 words?
Is copywriting 2 words? Is that what you asked me? It's one.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't know how to find it. Like 2 words copywriting.
1 word. Yeah, it's a lot of, you pack in there the behavioral psychology. It's everything, what's going to make people take action. And I think the most important thing lately, because I don't see it that much, is that personal touch, like you mentioned. When I first started working out in a gym as a trainer, I was a trainer at this big box gym, and the only way you could get clients was to get on the floor and talk people and basically convince them to work with you. It was awful because, for one, I was a new person, the new trainer. All the other trainers immediately hated me because it's like, now there's another person to compete with. All the members were unhappy because as soon as a new member comes in, it was like this flock of people surrounding them, trying to help them. And it was so annoying. This was years ago, and I don't know if the company's still around, but that was the worst thing. And then on my end, the manager, she hired me. She didn't even introduce me to the other trainers. I remember I was there for a week and a half and I quit. I said, this is not working. No one was happy. The members weren't happy because they're getting harassed. The trainers weren't happy because they had all this competition and they were all competing to have people sign up with them. And so now it's like people want that personal touch, and they don't want to feel like they're being sold to all the time. They want to know that people care, because it makes a huge difference, especially if somebody's working out. A lot of times they're really self-conscious. They're unhappy with their body. They don't want, like, I don't know if you saw this. There was a video going around where a guy was working out, who's a trainer, and he was working out with his client who was very heavy. And to distract people from looking at his client, he would dress up in costumes so people would look at him. He would like walk in like a Superman costume. It was hysterical, but yeah.
Now you made me curious. I want to watch it. You sold me on it.
I've seen it a few times. It's out there.
Oh my God. So you said when you went from writing to copywriting, leaders are learners. And Linda, you are consistently working on developing yourself. I know you're also host of your own podcast. You learn from other people coming to you as well. What did you find as the best source for somebody to learn copywriting? Like where do you learn from things? Like what's the conferences? What's the podcast you listen to? What's the books you read? What's the mentors you have?
I studied with Joanna Weeb. She's out of Canada. She has an agency called Copy Hackers. And it sounds like copy hackers, like they're doing something underhanded. But no, she was my biggest, most important person behind my learning the ropes. So I would say find a good coach, somebody who really has the background, like somebody like her. She's worked for all these SaaS companies and she's well known. There's an online course that she also offers. And there's other people that do too. There's Ed Gandia, who's another coach I've studied with. His is B2B. I forget the name of his course, but find a good copywriter to mentor with. Take a course, study, join a community of other copywriters that you could help each other out, refer people to each other too, because everyone has a different niche. So it's, even if it's competitive, There's always somebody who has a different take on it. But that's how
Make it relevant to your industry.
Yeah, I studied with these people. I started working for people that I knew, friends of mine that had businesses. And this was years ago, and I would give them a break and like, hey, I just need to get something in my portfolio. So I'd say, take a course with an established copywriter, read up on everything you can. I wasn't really big on copywriting books. This one is actually on behavioral psychology. This one by Nancy Harhut, she's been on my podcast, really, really good about how to use
behavioral science in marketing.
Yeah, it's using behavioral science in marketing by Nancy Harhut. And I start with, maybe local businesses and people that and offer to rework their website or do some copy or write some newsletters. I mean, that's how I started. And that seemed to, then it just grows from there. You start, one person refers you to someone else, and the rest is history.
And everything can be learned. I'm big believers in consistent, never-ending education, consistent, never-ending improvements. There's absolutely nobody who invented everything. So it's kind of shortcuts to results. You model what somebody else does. Like you said, there's people who helped you, like Ed Gandia. They spent decades trial and error, decades learning, decades doing it.
Yeah.
And now you get their course in hours. You can digest everything that took them a half of the lifetime to make it happen. So if you don't have time for this, hire a freaking good copywriter. But either you learn it or hire it. Without that, you're missing a lot. Everybody's missing. Wouldn't be the same. Now,
it's worth it.
It's well worth it. This is remarkable. I gotta say, Linda, you're awesome. Your skills are so much needed, and such a huge gap in how well utilized is and what's the need for it. And I appreciate you taking time to come here and talk to all of us and talk to this audience of gym owners who, for some of them, learning about this for the first time, some of them are still questioning what to do. But I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody listening for your great input today and for enlightening us with the world of the copywriting. Without this, definitely not the same.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been great.
And for everybody, guys, I want you guys to find and follow Linda Melone. Linda, what's the best way for somebody to ask a question or maybe connect with you?
On LinkedIn, of course. I'm very active there almost every day. Or you can email me at Linda@CopyWorx, spelled with an X, thecopyworx.com.
There you go. Appreciate everybody following up today. And don't forget to connect with Linda and follow us and subscribe for Top Rated Gym. See you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Wow, what an episode, right? Thank you guys for tuning in into this Top Rated Gym podcast. We hope you found valuable insights and practical tips to help you tackle the challenges of gym ownership. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. We want to reach the community. With your help, we can be the biggest contributor, biggest resources for you and other gym owners. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them, YouTube. If you have any questions, feedback, or topics you would like us to cover, or people you would like us to interview, or if you want to be interviewed on the podcast, reach out at topratedgym.com. Stay tuned, stay motivated, keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off. Bye.